Hi folks, got some sage going here. Let me fix that, that's way up high. Hold on a second. I'm going out of the picture. Come on, do what I ask. There, that's a little better. Whew. Hello friends, it's another Sunday night. Welcome to more interesting or whatever stories with Spooky Miss T.I. So let's start by toasting the week ahead. Here's to the coming week, and here's to the one that's passed. May our memories be great, and may the future bring all kinds of awakenings. Cheers. That's good. It's been very cold here in northern Michigan. I was driving back from visiting my friend this evening and driving through sleet. That wasn't very fun. I was really happy to have already switched over the tires. So let me move these. There we go. Now I can see what I'm doing. I'm upstairs at my altar again. I really like this space. I spent a little time here this evening, and so I thought, I'll just set up here. So sorry about the rough start with having to reposition the camera, but here we are. So I guess I'll get started with the topic for this evening. I've had many people ask me what I think ghosts are or what I think is happening, and I've had more people ask lately. And so I thought I would give you a little background as to what I think about this stuff and why and where I got my thinking. So, as many of you know, when I was but an infant, my family moved into a house filled with spirits. And so as I was becoming a conscious person, as babies, we learn about the world by the world around us. So each of our schemas, each of our definitions of things, like depending on where you are growing up, your idea of what a family is going to be different. Your idea of what a house is, or your surroundings, because so many of us live in, around the world. Homes are very different, and culture and villages and people are very different, and so our realities are based on what we experience as very, very young children, like from infant through toddler. And when I was a toddler, even before I could walk, I was able to talk. I must have, but I walked late, but I spoke very early. And one of the things that has been found is that memory conscious memory can begin once we have language for it. And so with being an early language acquirer, I have very, very early memories. And as I was growing as a very, very young person, being propped up to sit up, I recall learning about what was in my environment. And my environment included my parents, my two older siblings, the objects and things around me, but it also included things that would slip in from someplace else frequently. Now, I'm not talking about one day I sensed somebody next to me, and then a couple months later I did again. We're talking about every single day there was some kind of an encounter. I experienced some kind of an encounter pretty much every day. I don't, of course, remember every day, but this was so normal that it became part of my understanding of the world in which I lived, in which I was becoming a fully conscious little human. And I just like other things in our environment didn't frighten me, as I was learning, what uncles were and what aunties were and that sort of thing. That didn't frighten me. I didn't have language for what I was experiencing, but I was definitely developing an understanding of those things that would slip through what I refer to as the veil, the barrier between our physical world and a reality that is beyond that. A reality nonetheless. I've often spoken that as humans, most of us are living our lives as if we are living inside a barrel. And our entire reality is based on the walls of that barrel. And it isn't until something pops through or we pop out that you see that there are things beyond those barrel walls. And with me, I saw things beyond those barrel walls from the very beginning. And it didn't frighten me. Sometimes it was uncomfortable, just like it was uncomfortable when somebody got too close to me, when a stranger or an uncle or somebody or an aunt or someone or friend of the family wanted to grab a hold of my cheeks and stuff. That was uncomfortable. So it was similar to that. It wasn't scary because it was quote unquote paranormal. It was all very, very normal. I was frightened by these things multiple times when they would slip through unexpected. And it was like, I suppose it's like a jump scare in a movie, or when a storyteller tells a story and goes, ah, boo, and you jump. And so what would happen is when I wasn't expecting a visitation or expecting something to slip through, and it did, it would give me a jump scare, and then I would get that adrenaline rush. And an adrenaline rush feels like fear, very similar to fear. So it would be like I'd be afraid because of my chemical reaction to having been startled, to having been surprised. I've talked to my students when I was teaching theater that people talk about stage fright, and all stage fright is a big adrenaline rush. And if you can learn to manage that adrenaline rush, you can use that energy that you get from that adrenaline rush for a better performance, or you could get quote-unquote stage fright and throw up and not be able to go on stage. So I would teach them tricks that I had learned to deal with those adrenaline rushes, some of which I used as a young child when things would frighten me, and I would get that adrenaline rush instead of getting stuck in that fear place, because that fear place created more energy around, and it made it more, the environment more electric, more volatile. And so by figuring out ways to, after having been startled, to calm down. Now, this was not right away. There were things that happened that I was very afraid of for many years. But over the years, I learned how to dissipate that adrenaline and channel it to use for my own energy. Now, there were spirits in my childhood house that were there all the time that were so predictable that we just were not afraid of them at all. The Slinky Lady. I believe I talked to you a little bit about the Slinky Lady, but I'm going to say a little bit more now in case people didn't see the early ones. I'm not sure if I did or not. I should take notes on all these so I know what I've told. But the Slinky Lady was an entity in my house that had a very predictable path. She would walk up the stairs. We had 18 stairs, and she would come up the stairs and then turn. There was like a railing that turned and walked down the hall and toward the bathroom. And then in a very predictable interval, she would reappear on the other side, going the other way. And there was also a predictable interval between the time that she passed the door heading toward the stairs and she came back. And we used this predictability to watch for her and be able to get up and use the bathroom. And when she was out heading back down, we knew how much time we would have. And I suppose it was the all of our OCD, I think, is PTSD more than OCD, but we would count. And we would count her in and we would count her out, and she was so predictable. And we called her the Slinky Lady because she was lit, she was luminous, and we could see her front silhouette and sort of her outline. But when she would take a step, she would sort of glide. It wasn't like, I galump, but some people just walk. It was not a walk step, it was a step. And her rest of her body would stay back here, so she would move and it would catch up. And she'd move and it would catch up like a slinky toy. That's why we called her the Slinky Lady. And she was not scary, but we did not want to get in her way. We did not know what she was. We just thought it would be better to just, stay out of her way, which we did mostly. But sometimes you get in the way. And first of all, before I get into the getting in the way story, I want to tell you that all of the frightening spirits in my childhood did not hurt me or intend to hurt me. Now, with my father, there was some malevolence. There was something bad going on there, and it was trying to harm him. And but for me, I never felt like I was in any danger of being harmed. And most of the spirits that I've encountered in my life have not had bad intentions, and I'll explain to you a little bit later why I think that is. Toward me, bad intentions toward me, and I'll explain that to you a little bit later. But sometimes we get hurt and we are in danger when we surprise things, or we are in the wrong place at the wrong time. So one time when that happened to me, it was a Sunday night, and we needed to put our laundry away. And I spoke to you about laundry in another story, but laundry was a huge deal in my family. It was an enormous task that just my mother did, and we didn't have a dryer. We had a washing machine, so she didn't have to go to the laundromat, thank goodness. But she would hang the clothes up around the house when it was fall or winter, when they would, or rainy or whatever. And then my mother would have to spend like Sunday afternoons ironing and ironing and ironing. We all had to wear cotton dresses to school, that's what we had. And she would do laundry more than one time a week because we didn't have a lot of clothes. Like, I look at, like in Layla's room, she piles of clothes. Most of them were hand-me-downs given to her and stuff. But I think I had 4 dresses, and you'd wear a dress a day to school, and then like midweek my mom would do the wash again, and then you'd pick one of the new clean ones. And then we had play clothes that we would wear, and those would go in the drawer, pajamas and underwear and stuff. She didn't iron those, but she'd iron the dresses, she'd iron the dress pants and the shirts and all that stuff. And then we would have to take them up and put them in our rooms. Now at this time, I was probably maybe 6, 7, maybe 7. And I was sharing a room with my big sister, Kate. We had our own room, just us girls. It was so awesome. And unfortunately, this is the room where the man would emerge from the closet. Now, the closet in this room was very odd. It was connected to the closet in the master bedroom. And that's why there was like this little short alcove, short hallway between the actual hallway and this room where my sister and I stayed, because that was the other side of the closet that was in the master bedroom. And so our closet door was like, here's the closet, and the closet door for the master bedroom was on this side, and our closet door was on this side. But these closets were connected. There was no wall between them. And I don't know if there had been a wall between them at one time. Well, I kind of do now, but at that time we didn't know that. And it would have been a really fun hide-and-seek place because if you heard somebody coming in one room, you could slip into the other room, except that we would never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever choose to go in those closets. I remember when my Uncle Jerry was doing some wiring and found the trap door in that closet that went down toward the basement, and he was working in that closet, and I remember feeling just sick, thinking how, watching him do this stuff and going down this little trap, to pull wires through, and just thinking, oh my gosh, that's terrifying that he's in there. And, seriously, my Uncle Jerry doing wiring was a very, very, very stressful thing for me. I don't know if it was for the others, but that closet was terrifying. That closet was just awful. So we would do teamwork to put our clothes away. And this one Sunday, my mom was doing the laundry, and she handed me our dresses. And she said, take these upstairs and put them on a hanger right away. I don't want you laying them down. I don't want you, you don't wrinkle them. Just get them right on the rod. And I said, yes, ma'am. Where's Kate? Where's my sister? I said and my mother said she took the other laundry up. So I thought she was upstairs. So I took the dresses and bloop, bloop, bloop up those stairs. Now, every time we went on those stairs, without fail, we would run up and down those stairs. And there were 18 stairs, straight down, wooden stairs, slippery, deadly stairs. And my father would sit in his chair in the living room where he could see the stairs, and he'd see us head to the stairs, and he would bellow, hold the railing and walk. And we would, just ignore him and run up the stairs and run down the stairs all the time, and he would drive him crazy. But that's how we did it. So, but I wasn't running up the stairs with the dresses because I didn't want to drop them and, mess them up for my mother. So I was holding the railing and carried the dresses up, bloop, 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 got to the top of the stairs, and it was super quiet upstairs, and I got that butterfly feeling in my stomach. And usually when we were putting clothes away, the other kids were putting their stuff in their dressers, so there was a group upstairs, and there was nobody upstairs. I went in our bedroom, and the closet door was closed, and Kate was not there. Now, I hadn't seen her in the living room. I'm not sure where she was, maybe in the kitchen or the bathroom or something, but it freaked me out, and there was no way I was hanging up those dresses by myself there because we had a system. And so the system was that one of us would hang up the dresses while the other one would hold the door open so that nothing could close that door on us and lock us in there, irrational OCD, PTSD fears. And so I very carefully put the dresses on the foot of the bed, and I hightailed it to the stairs. And I started down the stairs, and again, my father yells, hold the railing and walk. So I'm holding the railing, and I'm halfway down the stairs, and I see my sister in the living room, and she's about to sit down, and I called to her and said, hey, come up and help me hang up the dresses. And she told me, I already put the clothes in the drawers. Mom said that you would hang up the dresses. And I'm like, but I'll hang up the dresses, but will you come up and help me? And it's weird, come up and help me. And she didn't say no, because we knew that how dangerous it felt to open that closet and try to put those dresses in without another living human there with you, because inevitably there was something non-living there as well. So I was standing on the stairs. She says, oh, okay, but you have to put them in. We would do eeny, meeny, miny, mo to decide who would hold the door and who would hang up the dresses. And because I was younger and Kate always got to do the eeny, meeny, miny, mo, almost always I hung up the dresses and she held the door. But that's part of being a younger sibling, right? Gotta wet my whistle here. So I was holding on to the railing, and she started walking toward me, and down the side, there was a long railing on the stairs, and then there was a hallway below, and then this curved archway that went into the living room. And she was coming up from the couch and walking toward the archway of the living room. And she was going to be right there. She was like just feet from the bottom of the stairs when I let go of the railing to turn around to go back upstairs. And the moment I let go of that railing to turn and grab it with the other hand, something hit me in my back with such force that I literally flew off the stairs. And I missed like probably 5 or 6 stairs. Just the force of it was so intense. I felt it. It didn't like hurt like somebody hitting me, but it was like a boom. And I flew off those stairs. And I didn't scream or anything, but my sister started screaming. And I hit like the bottom 4 or 5 stairs and tumbled down. And right at the foot of the stairs, there was just a small space. And then a big china cabinet that had belonged to my great-grandmother and had glass front doors, beautiful old china cabinet that was filled with glassware and china and little things. And I came flying down and I hit the bottom of that china cabinet. I don't know with what part of my body, but the whole thing went and crashed on top of me. And glass shattered everywhere. And Kate was screaming at the top of her lungs, just screaming. And she's like screaming, "Mommy!" And well, my mom and dad, it was Sunday night, so my dad was there. They come running, and I'm laying under this, and I'm not in any pain. I think I was kind of in shock, but I couldn't move. And my mother comes rushing up, and she says, oh my gosh. And my father says, "I told you to hold the railing," and he's screaming at me because I got hurt. And my mother says, "Close your eyes. There's glass everywhere, but don't close them tight. Just close your eyes gently, and we'll get you out of there." And I started to whimper, and then I started to cry, and I started to go, Davy pushed me, because the force that I felt that would propel me that way had to be something bigger than myself. And it wasn't my sister Kate. I was watching her as all this happened. She was standing in the archway. And the only other one that wasn't smaller than me was my brother Dave. And he would run everywhere, He was always running. And if he came flying down and hit me, he could have probably pushed me with the amount of force is what I was thinking. So I'm like, Davy, push me. And my mother telling me to shush. And my dad is cussing and yelling at me and us. And he lifted the broken china cabinet off, and I kept my eyes closed. And my mom said, "Are you okay? Can you move? Did you break anything?" And I'm like, "I don't know. And she said, "Can you move it? Can you move yourself? Can you move your hands?" And I moved my hands. She said, "Can you stand up?" I said, "I don't know if I can stand up." And she reached under my arms and helped me stand up. And then she picked me up because there was just glass everywhere. And I think I was in socks or something. And she shook me, like to shake some of the glass off. And it was everywhere. It was on the stairs, it was on the floor, it was in the hall. And this china cabinet was like splintered. It was toast. It was, if I was an insurance company, I'd say it was totaled. It was totaled. And she picked me up and sort of carried me gingerly and set me down by the archway and sort of brushed some of the glass off of me, and I shook my hair and she said, keep your eyes closed, and then took my shirt off because that was full of glass, and then she set me on her lap and had somebody go get a comb to comb the glass out of my hair. Meanwhile, my sister is still freaking out. And I'm saying, Davy pushed me. And by now, the glass is out of my face, and I didn't have any in my eyes, and there was no blood. I was not cut. And I had bruises, but I did not break anything. As far as I know, we didn't feel like I broke anything, and we didn't go get it checked because you just didn't do that, If you could walk or move. You weren't. So I was just adamant that my brother had pushed me, and my mother finally said to me, Davy did not push you. Davy was in the dining room with me. And I said, well, somebody pushed me. And she said, no, you probably just lost your balance when you were turning around and fell. My mother used to lovingly and teasingly often call me Grace because I was kind of clumsy as a child, aren't we all? But I didn't fall. And then my sister said she did not fall. She wouldn't jump in the air down the stairs. Her feet left the stair, and she said her back was arched. Something, she did not fall. Something pushed her down the stairs. And I was like, something pushed me. Somebody pushed me down the stairs. And after I got all cleaned up and got all the glass out, and later on when the glass was swept up on the stairs, we went up to bed, and those dresses were still at the foot of the bed. And I remember that night, my mother, when things would happen, when we'd see things, she'd tell us, that our eyes were playing tricks on us, or that we had vivid imaginations. I had the most vivid imagination of all, apparently. And that, our eyes were playing tricks, or we were seeing things. But she didn't say that this night. This night, we were the older ones, and usually she'd put the babies down and then just come tuck us in and give us a kiss and leave. But this night, she came upstairs with us while we got in our pajamas. She wanted to make sure I didn't have any glass anyplace else. And then, I'm going to pour a little more fuzzy water in here. And then she hung up the dresses. And she, herself just put them on hangers and hung them up. And then she sat down on the side of the bed, on my side of the bed. And I think she might have still been looking for glass, but she used to rub our forehead and run her fingers through her hair, and she would sing this lullaby, do, do, my baby. And she sang that to me. And I saw her while she did that. I felt so safe and so, so loved. And my mother had a very rare expression on her face of concern. I could see that this one was a little rattling for her. None of us had been ever hurt by this thing, by these things prior to this. And this was all even before my father became a target and some violence ensued. This was like a new thing. But I have to tell you, I did not feel as though I was attacked. Not at all. I did not have even the slightest inclination that something was trying to hurt me and pushed me on purpose down those stairs. I felt, even at that time, that I was just in the way. And I'm not sure who was coming down those stairs. Maybe it was the slinky lady. Maybe it was one of the other entities. But I don't think I was pushed. I think what I felt was the energy coming through me as it continued beyond me. And being someone who was already by that time separating my energy self, my spirit self from my physical self, when I was younger, I learned to leave my physical body and leave the house and go outside in order to escape the noisiness and the jump scares that would happen in that house for rest. And so my physical and my energetic self was already, I knew it was a duality. And I knew how all that felt. And I think that what happened was probably the Slinky Lady coming through. And because I was so aware of those energies, I think I was physically affected more than, and I wasn't holding the railing at that moment. So after that, I always held the railing, and I do to this day, of course, for other reasons. But and the china cabinet disappeared, and I don't know what happened to all the stuff in it. But for years, when we would talk about that incident, because it was quite a traumatic incident for everybody, it was quite traumatic for me. My folks always talked about the time that I fell down the stairs, and my father would use it as a cautionary tale: hold that railing or you'll fall down the stairs like T.I. And of course he'd yell, hold the railing and walk. But we talked about it, those of us who knew, as the time I was pushed down the stairs. But now I know it wasn't on purpose. So there are other times, I think, that when we have hauntings where bad things happen to people, I'm thinking that we're in the wrong place. Now I have. So as a young child, I was still trying to figure all that out, and it would show up really fast and startle me. But then I learned to recognize the signs of when the veil was thinning. So like now, I can go into a place and know something is there, and feel that it feels different. The energy in the room feels different. It's like just before a tornado, how the pressure drops. Well, the pressure doesn't drop, it like lightens, and the air is somehow thinner. I don't know how to explain it well, but that's what I experienced. So last week when I spoke about babysitting, and finding that, having those doors open and close, those were jump scares. Those were things that I knew something was there, but unexpected things were happening still because I didn't know how to tune into it. And over the years, I learned how to tune into it and how to avoid being in a dangerous place with spirits because of how I approach them. So let me tell you a little bit about that. So people ask me to come to their houses, and when they have weird things going on, people that know me ask me to come to their houses. I don't do this as a living. This is just something that, sure, I'll check it out for you, But when I do that, my goal is, first of all, I don't want to startle a ghost, like I don't want to startle people. And so before going, what I do is I will prepare myself in that I start to think about the person who has contacted me and then picture them in their environment and try to tune into what is around them and try to get a connection with whatever energy, whatever spirit is sharing their space or slipping in and out of their physical space, so that before I go there, it's like I have an idea, I have a bit of a connection, because I don't want to surprise a ghost and show up and appear threatening. That is a setup for trouble, just like with people, I mean, what do they say? The best way to win a power struggle is not to get in a power struggle. Well, it's the same thing with spirits, that it's not a face-off. It is a communication and an understanding. And so there have been times when I've walked into places that I didn't know there were spirits there, where they were aware that I could see them, and that was startling. And at that point, I have to try to calm things and say, I'm not here to hurt you. Sometimes I'll just say, I see you, but I'm not doing anything about it right now. So just, leave me alone. I'm here for vacation or whatever. But when I'm going to help a family who is frightened or who is dealing with something that's very comfortable for them, I give the spirit warning as well. And then when I enter the place, I always first center myself, pull in my guides. I call them my angels and ancestors that are always with me, that are always with all of us. And I would ask them to have my back, and I've even evolved that. And now I even will ask them to lead me, to walk in with me, or, help me, do what needs to be done here, or let's do what needs to be done here together, kind of thing. And then feeling very calm and very centered, I will walk in smiling, soft face, soft energy. And there have been times when I've walked in and the other energy in the house is like, ruh-roh, or who's this, what's going on? And I just stay super calm. And then I will sit and let the people who are experiencing the frightening jump scares describe them. And then give a chance for whatever spirit is there to let me know what's going on, what they're doing there. And I have only rarely run into something that is there to suck something from or create fear or shake things up. That's very unusual. Generally, it's that we're slipping from a different dimension, different reality into the physical reality. And I'm thinking that a lot of times the spirit that does that is as surprised as the physical person when it comes through. And I believe this, I think this, because I have been able to slip through from the physical to, I know that sounds crazy, but I have. And I've been able to do it with other people. So they could probably vouch for that. And I know that in doing that, I become, or we become, like the spirit that comes through into our physical world. And in order to not have a power struggle, I try to stay open and calm and lead and not force, and offer solutions and not demands. However, if a family is comfortable with whatever keeps slipping through into the physical dimension from wherever they are, and they are too, often it's people that are sharing a beloved home or a beloved space, then just like a mediator with roommates, I will work out some boundaries and ground rules to avoid the jump scares. Because if you can predict and somebody is there, and it's a somebody, and they're not invading your private space, that you don't want somebody else there, and they're not all of a sudden showing up unpredictably and giving you an adrenaline rush, then that's how you can coexist. If something is randomly popping in here, there, and the other place, or invading your private space, your bathroom, your bedroom, whatever, your shower, that's like, seriously, get away when people are taking a shower. That's just rude. But so set up boundaries that everybody agrees to, but I also will let them know. I don't tell them out loud. Sometimes I do, but I'll let them know that these boundaries need to be adhered to, or we will find a way to close that veil so they can't come back, and close that barrier between the physical and the non-physical. And I have several different ways that I know how to do that. And I tell them that I know how to do that, and I tell them, I know how to do that. So behave yourself, and you can share this space and continue with your memories until you're ready to move on to your next thing after this. Because, you have your physical life, and then there are some who have their afterlife in the same place as their physical life right away. But there's an after that as well. And when we're ready to let go of what's in the physical, when we're ready to, know that things will go on without us in a good way, then you can move to the next, whatever that is. And I'm not sure what that is. I've only experienced the physical, and then the dimension just beyond that spirits who've just died, or that where there are other realities that have non-human energy beings that I've run into several times. And these are, you don't negotiate with them. These are, well, you can in a certain sense, but really what I found is the trick is, what do they need? Why are they doing this? Why are they here? When I told you the story of Piety Hill with the grief eater, instead of just going in and exercising this entity, killing it basically is what it amounts to. I asked what it needed, and then found a way to get it what it needed without it harming the living people that it was harming. At the time, it was creating grief to feed itself, and it should have been in a cemetery where it was in a former cemetery. It should have been in a cemetery where human grief can feed it in a symbiotic, in a positive way. And there have been other non-human entities that have been in places that need something, and sometimes what they need is for you to get the heck off of their terrain, and you're in the wrong place. You're the one, the physical people are the ones usurping. And at that point it's like, who needs to be exorcised? Yeah, not the ancient elemental entity who's dwelt in this place forever, but the usurpers, which are physical people. So it's an interesting dance. It's an interesting way of looking at it and of dealing with it. I was going to talk a little bit, where was I going with this? Let me take a drink, and let's all have a drink and do another cheers. Anybody else have a toast? Are you all getting your books? The books are finally out there. I'm really enjoying people sending me messages about the books. Hey, if you like it, it really helps out a lot. If you rate and review, if you buy it online, even if you don't buy it online, you can still rate and review it. It really does help. It helps get it in front of other people, and eventually the people that I know, I'm going to run out of people that I know to buy it, and so I'm going to want people that I don't know to buy it based on your recommendation. So if you could do that, that would help a lot. Okay, back to dealing with ghosts and entities and being in the wrong place. Sometimes you can't avoid being in the wrong place, and you can't, I would not have been able to wait for the Slinky Lady to get down those stairs. It was a time where there was a lot of hustle and bustle, and when we would get in bed and everything was quiet, we could count her comings and goings and see her clearly. But when we were really busy during the day or in the evening and stuff, she was not really visible, although she was always there. And so there would have been really no way for me and there was no way I was going to stay in that bedroom alone and wait to watch her come by. I needed to get downstairs fast. So I took that risk and paid the price for it. But there are other ways that we get in the way of things unexpectedly. And if this happens to you, if you are, well, I hope you're never like energy projected downstairs. But if you get in the way of something in a place and you feel something threatening there, my recommendation is to first of all know, and this is absolute truth, know that you having both a physical and a spirit self, the dichotomy of having both of those is actually increases your strength, your ability in facing something that is purely spirit, okay? So, and having both of those is also good in facing something that's purely physical, which there isn't anything of. But so what I recommend and what I do when I am confronted with something that I did not predict to be there and I did not intend to spend time with, I will, first of all, protect myself. And many, many people have asked me, how do you protect yourself? And the number one thing to protect yourself is to realize that you have control over you. You do. You control your body, you control your spirit, you control your mind. Other things don't. And don't let anything else in to relinquish that control. Okay? So to do that, you want to fortify your center, your energy in your body. You're going to have that adrenaline rush because when something confronts you, it is just, we survived and evolved to the state we are in because of that adrenaline rush. If we did not have that, we'd have been surprised by saber-toothed tigers and our ancestors would have been eaten and we would not have been here. So the adrenaline rush is our warning system. It overreacts sometimes, but you have that, but then you have to deal with that because as soon as you're afraid, you go, don't you? Isn't that the response? You suck in. And when you do that, you pull your whole energy field in. And you make yourself more vulnerable. So you do that first when you're sure you, and then you stop and blow it out. And physically blow out. And as you blow out, imagine what you just sucked in, that energy, imagine that energy pushing out around you. And feel it. Feel it pushing out around you. I would recommend practicing this before you run into something surprising. I'll give you some ways to do that, but let me finish with what you do. So you blow out and push that out, and then I close off the ability of energy to enter into me and want it to circle by inhaling with my tongue on the roof of my mouth, pressing it. And then when I exhale, I drop my tongue and I blow through my mouth. So and let it circle through and nothing will get in. It's just going through here and my own physical energy is keeping it just right here. In, out, in, out, in, out. I don't take it fully in. Okay? So now I'm doing that breathing and I'm calming myself down. And also by doing that breathing, you are dissipating the adrenaline in your body. And that allows you to have more control over what's happening. Okay? And then stand your ground. Unless you need to get out of the way if something's coming toward you, step aside. Let it pass. But push that out. Let it go. And then you could say in your own head, you could say, stay away from me. I'm not dealing with you today. You could say, if you have a mantra that you say or a prayer that you say, do that. Something that's automatic, that is, call in your power. And if your power is through the Lord's Prayer, then do that. If your power is through a chant, do that. If your power is just through picturing someplace, do that. Wherever you get your power, do call on that. And what that does is it calls in your automatic ritualistic self. By doing ritual, we can call in ritual when we need it. Okay? And then I always call on my angels and call on my ancestors to stand around me and keep me safe. And if I don't want to deal with what's happening right there, I just tell it, you need to go away from me. Go away from me. And just like with a little tantruming child, I had kids that would freak out and I would never raise my voice. I would never say, get back! No. You just escalate the bad energy. You stay very calm. You say, you need to leave me alone. Get back. Move away. Step back. You need to get back away from me. Keep it very even. Keep that energy even. Say it slowly in a very clear, comfortable tone. When we get scared, sometimes our voices go like this. And what that does is it constricts your vocal cords, and all of a sudden the vibe is faster. That's why you're doing the breathing. So you're making the energy very even. Step back. Don't come any closer. And then push it out. And if you can leave the place comfortably, do that, or wait for it to just go and slip back away. And if it doesn't, give me a call. No, this should work for you. But before you do that, you have to be really aware of your own aura. There have been photos where, and it isn't just heat, photos that actually show the energy fields around our bodies. And you can practice expanding that. And that energy field around your body is your bubble, is your protective bubble. And that you can push out in a frightening situation. I've even used this with threatening humans, living physical blood and bone humans, and just pushed my energy so that I wasn't appearing vulnerable, and was very calming to the situation. The idea is you want to calm things down. So I forgot what I was going to say about it. Oh yeah, how to practice identifying where your energy is and how to expand it. So here's a little trick that I've taught all my kids, not all my students, well, some of them, but my children and my grandchildren. So, okay, so what you want to do, it's easiest to feel in your hands first. So what you're going to do, and you can try this with me, you're going to rub your hands together to create some heat friction, okay? And then you're going to close your eyes and pull your hands apart about shoulder length. And then very slowly bring your hands together until you start to feel the other hand. Seriously, try this now. This will blow your mind. In the beginning, sometimes it's like an inch away, but it's the same sensation of if you're sitting and reading something and you know somebody is looking over your shoulder, you know they're there because you're feeling their energy. And so you want to be aware of your own. So let's try that again. And then what you do here, let me show you. So you're going to get this going, pull it apart. Don't start here where you're feeling the heat, because I don't want you to feel the heat. I want you to feel the energy. That's why you start about shoulder length. And then bring it in until you feel it. And then massage it out. So if this is about where you feel it, pull this one out a little so you still feel it. Pull the other one. Go Go back in so you feel it, and out, and back in, out. And keep doing that till you can pull that and feel it as far as you want out there. Another good place is on your face, okay? Because, or your head, your forehead, because you want to protect your head. You don't want some mess with your hair. So, so you're going to do the same thing on your forehead. You're not going to rub your forehead. You're going to rub your hands together again. And then feel your hand. You can totally feel it. Do it with your cheeks. Do it with your chest. Do it with different parts of your body, and just practice doing this. And then, after you can feel it, just from your hand, your hands project all kinds of energy. Then, when you are lying in bed, or when you are sitting still at your meditation spot, when you sit down and do your breathing, feel that energy rising off your skin on your whole body. Focus on that. Focus away from your physical self. Focus on that, feeling that place just outside your body. And focus on moving that out. And as you do it, visualize it. Visualize it. I've had different people tell me that they visualize different colors. For myself, I am never the same color, well, sometimes over and over, but when I'm doing that visualization and feeling, just resting my body, don't cross any parts, just, get comfortable, feet down, feet however you're comfortable, and feel that energy expand. And picture it. And if your eyes are closed, you'll start seeing color. And this is what your retina does. This is not some weird spirit thing. This is what your brain does. You'll start seeing that color. And then in the center, once you get super relaxed and you feel that energy expand around your body, focus your field of vision right here between your eyebrows. And it's a little uncomfortable because when you close your eyes, they stay even. So you can almost cross your eyes a little bit and ignore that discomfort and just look at that spot, and it will change color. And it'll start to move. And it will keep moving. And as you watch that spot, for me, eventually I start seeing light in that place. And then it feels like things are moving, and the light will be different colors, and then it gets lighter and lighter. And if you can focus on that light and not get distracted, stop. Remember, you're focusing on your energetic self that surrounds your body, not on your physical body. This takes practice. And you focus on that spot, and as that light, it's like you feel like you're moving in your mind's eye here. Things seem to be moving. Sometimes you will see faces in there. That's pareidolia, where you make faces in shapes. That's part of what our brain does. Sometimes you actually, as you're moving, you start seeing actual faces, but don't be afraid of that. Just keep focusing on that place that turns into almost like a tunnel. And as you do that, and you're thinking only of your energetic self, you can actually separate from your physical self. I'm not talking about the first time you try this. I'm not talking about the 10th time you try this. It can be scary, because it's like, Ezra has talked about finding himself out of his physical body, remember? And last week, and he was like, am I dead? Because you don't have your body anymore. And that, I think, is what it does feel like when you first die. But you're not. Your physical body is still fully functioning, and you are still connected to it. All that has to happen is you just will yourself back in, and you're right back in your physical body. And it's not like your body sitting there as an empty vessel, like in what are the ghost stories where the little boy does astral traveling, and so they steal his body and trap his spirit outside of his body. This is Hollywood. This is fiction. Your spirit fits your body. Your energy is part of your body. And you are in control of that. Just don't don't start by shooting out into the universe. Although eventually maybe you can. So that's the other question that people have asked me about, this astral traveling or spirit traveling. Something I learned very young, and I've used throughout my life. There were periods where I almost never did it when my children were younger, after I had been treated for Lyme disease, and I didn't have as much pain, but it's very useful, and there's so much out there. And I think that's being adept at separating my spirit from my physical is one of the ways that makes it possible for me to move through the veil. I'm not going to say I know this sounds crazy, because you people who I'm talking to know that I'm not. It's not disassociation, despite what my therapist says. It is actually separating my energy from my physical self and just stepping outside of it. I mean, it's not locked to each cell. We all have flying dreams. We wake up and feel like you've fallen back in. You probably have fallen back into your body. Maybe not. But that's how it feels when you come back, if you have to do it quickly. For me, when I come back, I just pull myself slowly back in. So it's not a startle. It's just back and wake. Oh, that was good. And I've heard people say that when you're in bed, that place between sleep and awake is a really good place to do this. I don't recommend that. For one reason, is that, first of all, when I've tried that, I fall asleep. And second of all, when you're really drowsy like that, when you're in that almost sleep state, your brain is starting to go to other places anyway. And I'm talking about your brain, not your spirit. And you're going to need your brain and your energy in order to really do this, and then make sure that you can reconnect. I would recommend find a really comfy chair in the sunshine, or some place where there's sun coming in and it's warm and your body is comfortable, and to just sit. For me, I love sitting at my altar, but and then go from there, not in a place where you're already fatigued and tired, but a place where you're just peaceful. And don't expect to all of a sudden be able to turn around and see your body sitting there in that chair. It's not like that. You just kind of feel this floaty kind of sensation, and then later, like for me later, then I was actually able to and am able to go to other places. And I have gone both to places that I've been, because all I do is like visualize those places, and I can go there because I don't have a body to encumber me. But I've also gone to places that I have not ever been. And I've seen people in those other places. I've seen other things, other living people, or in that place. And it's odd. It's like last week Ezra described the sky as being like a lit, when he was out of his body, how it looked orange like a city sky at night, an overcast city sky at night. And what I found, this color that I am right now, this amber color, that is the color of that dimension that I move into. Everything is this really warm amber color, but there's no shadow, so it's not like a light cast from anything. It's just everything's illuminated. You can see everything. Even if you need glasses, you could see it without glasses because you don't have a body encumbering you. So within that amber place, and you can just kind of move through. As a child, I would bounce myself off the wall of the house and fly and pick myself up and use my own breath to, like when you blow a feather up, and I would lift myself up and be able to, fly around outside of my house, and then as in my 20s, that was when my early 20s was when I was going through all kinds of surgeries and things for my body, and it was not a very happy time for my pain centers in my brain, and so I would leave a lot. And one time, and it was night, I was out, and I was just out so I could rest. I would just leave my body so I could rest my soul and let my body just lie still without it feeling pain. I left my pain out of my consciousness and removed my consciousness. So I'm just out and about and just doing my floaty thing. And all of a sudden, I was in a place that was like a dense fog around me. And my cousin showed up, my older cousin. And I first heard him call my name, and he would always call me by my birth name, Antoinette Marie. And I turned, and I was surprised to see him because there were some people that I recognized all the time in this place that were probably doing the same thing I was. And there were some people that I never saw in real life that were there that I would recognize when I was there. And I think some of them were my guides and angels, maybe ancestors. But he was there. And I looked at him, and he had this stunned look on his face. I just heard my name and turned and looked at him, and then he wasn't speaking to me. He was very distraught. And so you don't have to talk in this place. I just communicated, come on, come with me. And he came right along with me, and we went, and we kind of floated around this forest preserve, and then we went out to out by Belmont Harbor. This was in Chicago, and over the lake, and just kind of, I was just like showing him, how you could just, and just move over the surface and then up, and he was just doing this stuff with me, and he would when I still lived in Chicago, we'd go to movies together, and he would take me dancing. We would go, and he was a great dancer. He was like, this was a time of, Saturday Night Fever kind of dancing, and he could do all these great swing dance moves and all these, and he could dance with me without making me fall and hurt me. So it was just like this really smooth, fluid, dance with him in real life. And so I was sort of leading this dance in the non-physical life with him. And then all of a sudden, I saw him go and look off, and then he just went and disappeared. And I had no idea what that was. I thought maybe he had just accidentally come into this place in a dream or something. And then I, of course, stayed out all night. Staying out all night was the most restful thing I could do at that time. And then the next day, or the day after, because I was not living in Chicago at the time, and being one of 10 children in a great big family, news didn't always get to me. And it was like, oh, you didn't hear? And I'm like, what, would I have read it in my local paper? I mean, but everybody expected that everybody heard. And my poor mother, she would call all of us, and never, somebody was always not called, and it was a lot of times me, because people would talk when they'd see each other. So maybe a couple of days later, I heard that my cousin had to have emergency surgery a few nights before, that he was in excruciating pain, and before he got to the hospital, his appendix actually burst, and the infection just exploded in his abdomen, and he was rushed to the hospital and immediately taken into surgery, where it was very touch and go, and he was right on the brink. And as it turned out, it was the night he showed up in my quote-unquote dream, and when I took him out dancing in a different place. And when he looked away was when he was waking up. So I told him this. I actually, he told me that, when I saw him half a year later, Christmas or something, he said, I said, I heard about your appendix. Oh my God, that was so close. And I didn't tell him, hey, you were with me on that. But he said, yeah, I had the craziest dream. Well, when I was there, when I was waking up from anesthesia, it was like, you were in my dream. I said, I know. And then I told him what I remembered us doing. And he was like, wait, what? And before he could actually ask, another cousin interrupted us, and I just kind of smiled at him. And then moved away, and we never talked about it since. I don't even know if he remembers, but I remember. So it's a very useful thing to be able to do if you want to try it. Be in a safe place. Be comfortable. Don't be afraid. If you're afraid, don't do it. Seriously. I mean, it's like jumping off black rocks in the UP. If you're afraid to jump off black rocks, don't jump off black rocks. But if you're not afraid to jump off black rocks, or you're just kind of, oh, this is kind of scary, but I want to do it, give it a go. Don't expect anything right away, but get in touch with who you are outside of your physical cells. And I'm not talking just about your personality and about all the wounds that we've accumulated all our lives, and our trauma, and how it affects our thinking and our brain and our interactions. Get in touch with your energetic self, that pure energy self. Because when you do that, it is the most healing, most powerful alliance that I have ever experienced. And it has served me well in many situations. And I'll tell you on another day about some times when I actually used that energy as a physical protection against physical people. Every time I say I'm going to run out of stories and I talk about something, it brings to mind other things I could tell you about. So I'm not out of things yet. But if you have questions for me, or you have something you want me to talk about, or you have a story yourself, or something that I've been able to figure out how to have guests here, even if you're not local. I mean, when I had Aunt B, we just let her do her video, and I just introduced her, and then she got to tell her story on here. So if you have something like that, message me. And what we'll do is, because it's different, when you're talking into a phone or a camera like this, it's very different than telling somebody your story sitting next to them. So what I've done with folks is, when they're going to tell their story, we get together either by FaceTime or in the same room and tell the story ahead of time. And that way it sort of gets it all in place. You remember what you need to remember. It's comfortable. And so if you have something, I know some of you have had some crazy stuff happen. Or if you have questions for me, please ask. I'll do my best. I don't know everything, clearly. There's so much I don't know. But there are some things that I do, or that I think are the way things are. And I may be wrong. And there may be more reality that will be discovered as time goes on. That's why I try to avoid saying I believe this or I believe that. Because once you put belief into the equation, you stop being open to other possibilities. So I'll say I think this is what's happening. Just in my own life, just in the past few years, just in the past year, my understanding of what's happening has evolved. And I think that someday this stuff is going to be figured out by the scientific community, and what is really happening and what is really going on. But right now, it's what I have experienced and what we've experienced, and that is my reality at this point. And anyway, I am open to learning new things and to changing my thoughts on things. So there you have it. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, I still have a little bit of this to polish off. Hey, I was so tired when I got back this evening. I was like, oh gosh, I took a little short nap. And then it was like, 9 o'clock's another hour away. Am I going to be okay with this? But I'm so glad we get to do this. This has really helped me a lot. It's helped me express these things and think about them in new ways, and learn about myself and learn about the things around me more. So as we tell our stories can teach us all kinds of new things. So tell your story. Have a great night. Peace.